The Monster Hunter Wilds beta is here, and it is going to be ending soon, but I have spent several hours playing this thing, and I wanted to make a video talking about the things that I really enjoyed about the beta, and also some things that I didn't enjoy that I hope get fixed up for the full release of the game. There's a lot to unpack, but I'm going to try to keep everything compact so that this is not a super long video. I'm mostly going to be talking in the background with some gameplay being showed of the stream and everything else. And by the way, if you really like these Monster Hunter Wilds videos, definitely leave a like below. And don't forget to subscribe. This channel is pretty much going to be turning into a Monster Hunter Wilds channel, along with other related Capcom games and stuff like that. But this is a game that I'm really going to be dedicating myself to because, again, in this video, I'm going to talk about a lot of the things that I actually really love and really enjoyed. But yeah, definitely subscribe if you're interested, and yeah, definitely follow me on Twitch. I'm streaming on Twitch pretty much 5 days a week. I'm also going to be streaming here on YouTube, so if you want to catch up to me playing Monster Hunter Wilds or any other Monster Hunter game, or any game in general, definitely don't want to miss that. But anyways, let's get to some of the things that I really enjoyed about the beta, and there's a lot here. We'll start off really just there's one thing about Monster Hunter that I think we can all agree in terms of what makes it a good game, or a game that's like really fun to play. It's the combat. The combat is it's so much fun. It's incredible. All the changes that they made to their weapons, in my opinion, have been pretty good for the most part. Most of the weapons that I have played, I have been really enjoying myself. Longsword, I'm a longsword user, yes. I'm pretty sure someone in the comments is going to be like, here's another longsword shill. But longsword is a really fun weapon. And honestly, this is like the most fun I've had with longsword, even more so than Monster Hunter Rise, which in my opinion, Monster Hunter Rise had arguably the best sort of systems for weapons in terms of like all the stuff that you can do and all the sort of interchangeable parts that you can make to how you want to play your weapons in that game. But in this game, it feels smooth. There's this fluidity to the game that I really enjoy when you're actually engaging with the monsters and stuff like that. And I mean, yeah, the focus system has also been really fantastic. I like to think that now your weapons kind of have like even more almost like super attacks or something like that. It's like the moment you do a focus strike, it's like you get like this cool super off, and then obviously when you get the mount on a monster, you know, there's a really cool cinematic finish that you can do. And I was actually able to land that a few times to actually end a hunt, which was actually super freaking cool. But the combat is fantastic, and again, while I do wish that there was maybe a couple new weapons for us to try out, the beta kind of forced me to really try out weapons that I previously wasn't really interested in. Gunlance, I've always liked Gunlance, but Gunlance, I think, even more so than Longsword in this game so far, might be it might be the weapon that actually might dethrone Longsword for being my favorite weapon in this game. Gunlance is absolutely insane. It's so much fun. It's shockingly super mobile for a really big weapon where you're holding this big gun lance and this big shield. Your hunter has a lot of mobility options, and yeah, the combat was just absolutely fantastic, and just fighting the monsters and engaging with the monsters was great. Speaking about the monsters, which honestly that's what Monster Hunter is, it's all about the monsters. The 4 monsters that we got to fight in the beta are great. Chotacabra, Balahara, you have Doshuguma. I've been hearing most people say Doshuguma, or however you want to say it. And obviously, one of my favorite monsters, probably Monster Hunter history, Raydo. And yeah, I really appreciate that we had some, there was just some opportunities to try out different monsters, right? It wasn't just limited to like 1 monster or 2 monsters. I do appreciate that there was a variety, and that we can fight different monsters and things like that, and sort of see different perspectives on how, because all these monsters are very different. Chotacabra very much is kind of like, you know, he's like your starting sort of monster. So to new players, I would recommend definitely fighting a whole bunch of Chotacabra just to get used to your weapons. I'd say Balahara is probably second in terms of difficulty. Like, he doesn't do a whole bunch of damage, but he definitely has some pretty interesting mechanics that makes him really interesting. He creates these big sand holes that actually transport you to a different part of the map. By a different part, I mean like another layer of the map, like the bottom layer of the map. it's so cool when it happens, and he like can randomly come out and like just do it to any monster. It was fantastic. Doshiguma, in my opinion, was the one monster I kind of struggled fighting against, just because his attacks were very hard to read at times. And I'm still kind of getting used to fighting Doshigama, however you want to say it. But it's a really cool monster. There was even one time where me and a few friends we fought the entire herd. We didn't just like separate the two other, you know, not apex, but like the other sort of, you know, we didn't isolate the big one, the one that's like we're supposed to hunt. We actually fought all three of them, and it was a lot of fun. At some point, the three of us just kind of, we were all fighting them individually, and it was really cool. It was a lot of fun. And Raydo, in my opinion, it was just like the most fun in the game in terms of like, here's a monster who can just like one-shot you from his freaking lightning ray gun blast. And overall, I feel like Raydo is the one monster I feel like that is a really good test for not just new players, but for experienced players as well. And I mean, fighting this monster, fighting Raydo with like any weapon was just super fun. He's one of the coolest monsters in the game, and I really hope that they really expand his moveset as we start to fight, you know, once the full game comes out. As soon as that happens, I hope that there's like different variants of Raydo, and that, you know, because, you know, if you fight him long enough, you're gonna get used to him, and it's gonna be pretty easy to take him down. But he still kind of poses a threat. But the new monsters so far, in my opinion, were really great. And honestly, it's making me more excited to fight even more new monsters. And yeah, the monsters were great. I also want to talk about the Lcal. Man, I almost called it the Wild Spire, but the Windward Plains, absolutely stunning to look at. This game, this beta, has so many little details that I can't cover in just this one video, but the sheer amount of details that this game has is absolutely wild. Sorry, I had to do that. I just wanted to fit that one in there. I don't even know what that laugh was, but you'll just have to bear with me. But yeah, no, the Lcal itself, it's so big, but it also feels like there could be so much more. In terms of like, I'm wondering if this is as big as it'll get. But it really does feel big. You really need a secret to like really get around this place. And man, during the daytime, this game is beautiful. It's stunning to look at. It's from the sand dunes to sort of like, you know, some of the grassy areas, and, you know, going to some of the mountaintops, going to Raydo's like little nest, in my opinion, was like one of the coolest and most visually stunning areas in the game. Yeah, this game, as ambitious as it is, it looks really, really stunning. And just seeing all the endemic life interacting with each other, the sound effects, the noises, I mean, I could just go on and on. And just it's an interesting decision that they went with this particular Lcal to kind of start with. But if anything, it's making me more excited to see more of the Scarlet Forest and the oil Lcal, which for the top of the life of me, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I'm sure it'll show up somewhere in this video, but yeah, man, if anything, I hope that there's a lot more Locals, and like they really pack in just a bunch of different places that we can go and really make it a really fun and seamless experience. The character creator was absolutely fantastic. I mean, some of the characters that I've been seeing people post on Twitter have been absolutely amazing. Yeah, in my opinion, this is the best, it's the best character creator for Monster Hunter ever. I don't know if it's like the best in gaming. There's definitely been some other games, in my opinion, that have done the character creator a little bit better, but in terms of like this, like a Capcom game, this one is pretty damn good. I've also heard that the Dragon's Dogma 2 character creator was pretty good. But yeah, man, I mean, I've seen John Wick, I've seen Michael Jackson, I have seen so many different characters, Woody from Toy Story. I mean, there's just been so many characters. I was able to make Siegfried from Soul Calibur. I was also able to make Paul Atreides from Dune, or, you know, I was Timothée Chalamet, the actor. I mean, I did my absolute best to do it. But yeah, the character creator was absolutely fantastic. And again, just one of the many things that I really enjoyed about my experience with Monster Hunter Wilds as far as the beta is concerned. And just to talk a little bit more about the little details, there's just these little quality of life changes that they made, which in my opinion were really, really fantastic in terms of, you know, as a longsword user, you know, when you're doing Helmbreaker and you whiff that Helmbreaker, it's really nice to know that if, like, you know, your weapon, your Helmbreaker's not going to hit, it's nice just to press X or square on the controller and your hunter just cancels the attack. And it's just those little tiny things that I just really appreciate. The little tiny details when your hunter is, you know, you're at this mining, you're mining some ore, and just the way that your hunter just breaks the ore, and you can actually see your hunter grabbing the individual pieces of the ore. And yeah, again, just everything, the way that your secret kind of interacts with you, the way that the characters and the NPCs interact with you. This really feels like a very expensive game, and it makes me feel like Capcom really invested so much, because there's just so many little tiny details, which I think again could be saved for a completely separate video because there's so much to unpack. But again, the little details and the quality of life changes, in my opinion, are really what make this game really, really special, in my opinion. And gosh, man, just thinking about it, as I'm talking through it, it's one of those things when you're playing it and you're kind of experiencing it firsthand, it's like pretty remarkable. But as you kind of reflect on it and you talk through it, it's really, really stunning to just how all the coding works in the game. It's really, really fantastic. I do gotta give a shout out to the online. Although I got disconnected a couple of times, I played, and I just want to stress, I did play both the PlayStation exclusive version of the beta, meaning if you were a PlayStation subscriber and you had a PS5, you could play the beta a little bit earlier than everyone else. And then I also played the Steam version because that is going to be the version that I'm going to be committing most of my time to. And yeah, the online worked really, really well, in my opinion. It was really easy to connect with other people. It was really easy to get into these like shared linked like parties and stuff like that. The way that you can like connect with someone and do an environmental link was a lot of fun. And for those who are wondering what's an environmental link, well, environmental link kind of works similar to Monster Hunter World's Iceborne, where you were in the Guiding Lands. The Guiding Lands was this area where it was basically this big locale that had all the locales kind of combined together, but you and up to 4 other people can be together at the same time and just fight monsters. Think of it, that's basically what the environmental link is. You and up to 4 other people are together in your particular locale, your particular game, your world, and y'all are all just going around hunting monsters and pretty much just going through everywhere. So I thought that was really cool. I mostly stuck with like the old formula of just like setting, you know, being in the party, setting up quest, everyone's ready to go, did everyone eat, and then you kind of go out and you do that. And yeah, it was really good. Again, I think I got disconnected maybe a couple times, but again, this is a beta. It's the first beta. This is probably an old build, so, you know, I'm definitely willing to forgive Capcom and the Monster Hunter team for anything, because, again, there's so many positives that this game has, in my opinion, that kind of outweighs all of the challenges that I'm sure that it's going to be resolved. And I think people need to give Monster Hunter a little bit of grace and Capcom a little bit of grace, because this is a big game, and it's very ambitious. And although that might be a little bit to its detriment, I trust Capcom and the Monster Hunter team to really figure this thing out, because again, just to kind of go back, the coding of this freaking game, I can't even imagine how much time and effort and work and money that went into making all of these systems work. And for a Monster Hunter game where this is the first Monster Hunter game that's implementing crossplay. Crossplay was great. I was able to connect with people on Xbox. I was able to connect with people on PlayStation. The connections were running really well. It was just it was just amazing that it worked. And you know, there's another thing to consider here. There was several 100,000 people playing the beta when it became available to pretty much everyone. So the fact that I was even able to get into a lobby, albeit there's like, you know, I think on Steam on day one alone, there was like 400,000 players or something like that, and probably a lot more on PlayStation and Xbox. So again, the fact that the online was working relatively well, right? That's something to be very happy about. Now I want to talk a little bit about the things that I didn't enjoy. Really one of the bigger things was the game is running a little bit rough on PC right now. There was many times when the game would crash on me whenever I tried to turn on frame generation, which is basically a way to ensure that you get better frames. It might hinder a little bit of the it sort of alleviates a bit of the processing power, but at the same time, anytime I try to toggle that on, the game would crash. I already know it. It's gonna crash. Fuck, man. Why? There was also one instance where the game crashed completely, and I wasn't able to open the game back up, and every time I did, it would just crash and create crash reports. So much so that I had to uninstall the game, make sure that my graphics driver was updated. I had to do basically an entire restart. And, you know, finally the game works. But I think if you're someone who's going to stream this game and play this game at the same time, and maybe you're someone who just has one system to stream and play your PC games, I highly recommend maybe not running this game at the highest settings. But for the most part, man, when you have this game running on the highest settings with with just everything turned up to the highest, it's one of the most stunning video games I've ever seen. As far as like Capcom game goes, it's arguably the best looking Capcom game, RE Engine game, I think I've ever seen and or played. It's absolutely stunning. But you know, Capcom unfortunately has a history of not having the best PC ports, and although games like Resident Evil 4 Remake and Resident Evil 2 Remake and even games like Street Fighter 6, those games run relatively okay. Street Fighter 6 is a bit of an outlier in this case because it's a fighting game, so I think it kind of takes less. This game is very ambitious, and there's so many things that's going on. And when I say there's so many things that's going on, there's wind moving, there's sand moving, there's endemic like moving, there's just so much happening. And I'm just really curious, you know, how they're going to continue to kind of fix that. And it kind of makes sense that this game is coming out in February, why they kind of wanted to do this now, as opposed to, like, wait until, like, a month before the game comes out. I think doing it early now really gives them more time to really polish the game up, and stuff like that. So, while I really enjoyed playing the PC version of the game, it did, and when it ran really well, but man, the crashing was really bad, and from what I understand, a lot of people were not very happy about how the game was running on PC, so I do hope that's something that they fix. Another small thing, too, that I really didn't enjoy, and that I didn't enjoy, the base camp is a little bit too small, in my opinion. I see what they were trying to do. I see that they were trying to make this, make the base camp the big gathering hub where you kind of do everything and all the NPCs are together. But that was kind of the beauty of having, like, a gathering hub, like a place where you can go to, like, meet up with your friends and stuff like that. That's completely different. I would have liked if there was just your base camp, which is smaller than, say, Astera or Celiana, because those places were pretty big. Astera was actually really, really big, and I think that actually would have been a really good place to kind of have all the hunters there, just like, kind of like on a, you know, that Astera from Monster Hunter World, in my opinion, really could have been a great opportunity to kind of integrate the gathering hub and have hunters there because it's so big. Celiana, maybe not as much because that's a little bit smaller of not really a locale, but sort of like your home base. The base camp is just too small, and sometimes it just feels like I'm cramped up with too many players, and sometimes there's some players that, you know, unfortunately are just making too much noise, or, you know, so I'm really hoping when the game comes out that we can make private lobbies and stuff like that. That's something that I'm hoping that they do. So again, while it's a really good idea, either make the base camp bigger or just make a separate gathering hub, or just give us the option to make private lobbies so that we can just be with our friends, not in an environmental link per se, but like make it where all my friends and I can be together in this one lobby and this one private lobby, but where you don't all have to go out and do an environmental link and do like this big sort of expedition but rather we can still set up quests like we normally would in previous Monster Hunter games. But other than that, man, like, I really, every time I played this beta, I just really enjoyed it. And again, like, you know, there's only 4 hunters that you can hunt, and you can't really craft, you know, any materials or anything like that. And while those things I think could have been added just to see what that's like, and for, I think for players who maybe are new to Monster Hunter, I think it would have been important to kind of include that you can, like, here are these materials that you can get, and you can actually craft things with them. I think that's one area I wish they probably would have implemented into this beta. Maybe that's going to be saved for a later beta. Because again, I'd rather the players who are trying out this game for the first time see what Monster Hunter's like. It shouldn't just be like, okay, I have all these materials, what am I going to do with these materials? And then when you try to go to someone and they tell you, well, this is not ready yet. You know, I kind of feel like it kind of takes away from what Monster Hunter kind of is in terms of what that game cycle is. So definitely giving players a chance to actually, you know, giving the players the chance to actually craft armor with the smithy with Gemma would have been really nice. I don't think they needed to do everything else in terms of speaking with Tom and getting ingredients for your food, or speaking with the other NPC who sells you things. I think just the armor stuff could have been really cool, just to see what that looks like and feels like. You can always play the previous games to see what that's like. But again, I would have liked to see what that looks like. But, you know, again, it's not a deal breaker at all. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, I think this game is likely going to be a Game of the Year contender for many, many people. In my opinion, it's one of the coolest games I think I've ever played. And when I say cool, I just mean, like, when you're playing this game, it just feels so much fun to play. As a Monster Hunter fan, I think if you're a Monster Hunter fan, I reckon you really enjoy playing this beta, and you can't wait for this game to come out. I can't wait for this game to come out. I am going to be spending a lot of time with Monster Hunter Wilds. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of videos, a whole bunch of content. I'm going to be streaming this game a whole bunch. So again, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like. Let me know in the comments below, what did you really enjoy about the beta, and what is something that you did not enjoy about the beta? This feedback is actually really important, and I think if we can create these conversations in this video, in the comment section, I think this can be some really good feedback to even share with Capcom. And so yeah, man, thank you guys so much for watching. This is the first time I'm kind of just talking off of my head, not really just through a script and stuff like that, so we'll see how these videos do. Again, I apologize if this was too long. Yeah, I'm gonna go back and play the beta, and yeah, until next time, my name is C4 Sages. Peace.